I'm not important enough for to be introduced, so I've got to do myself. Everybody go boo. 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 Hello. You're new. Right, let's get on with it. Firstly, before we start, I want you to think about this. Think about the best hotel experience you've ever had. What was it that made it so special, all right? Now, I've only got half an hour for this whole talk, and it's a 40-minute talk, so I'm going to have to be extremely quick, otherwise the time gremlins will tell me to off. All right, let's go. So, let's go. Firstly, hello, LA, and welcome to the MBJ Hotel. I am the proprietor of this establishment. You may clap. Well done. Good clapping. Good energy, people. Secondly, how amazing was Jessica Hish? Have you noticed her? She doesn't usually look like this. She looks like a fairy usually, but me and Jess have got something very important coming, which nobody knows about. In fact, we're going to be starting a podcast together, all right? Oh, see? Fresh information. Right. Secondly, thirdly even, for anybody that doesn't know me, my name is James Martin. Many people on the internet know me as Made by James. I shouldn't have said that. I'm a designer, educator, author. I am a father to my son Rocco. I am a husband to my wife Kate. And I'm a brother to my brother Chris. I'm also a high school kicked out. I was kicked out of school and kicked out of home at the age of 17 for doing all of the naughty things that I shouldn't have done. I deserve to be kicked out. But it changed me. It changed me for the better, I think. Maybe not. Maybe I'm a little bit broken, but aren't we all? Anyway, I'm an official dabber, like with my friend Debbie Millman and Pablo and Jessica. We're a part of the Designer Advisory Board here at Canva, helping to develop professional tools for this new era of designer, away from the enemy. I run a super duper studio. I think it's really, really important that I eat my own dog food. So as an educator, I think it's really, really important that I'm doing the same things that designers are doing and learning every day, still working with clients, because that's where all the unpredictable learning happens. And I'm also a creative partner at Lincoln Design Co., where we do work like this. Let's go. Right. Quick. Let me swiftly talk you through how this amazing opportunity happened. Now, about 10 years ago, I decided to take my own business. I started an agency called Baby Giant Design Co. I wanted to take myself a little bit more seriously, so I was scouring the internet looking for inspiration of the thing that I can build. And I came across these crazy cats, as I said, 10 years ago, called Lincoln Design Co. What I loved about them is that they spent just as much time on their own brand as they did their clients' brands. That's something that I've always tried to do within my own world, Made by James, Baby Giant, and all the rest of it. But the beautiful thing is it all started with a conversation. I liked their work. I then left a comment on their work. I then probably exchanged some emails, did an Instagram Live. Then over time, Dan and I became friends. We did conferences together. We did workshops together. And 10 years later, I'm a creative partner in the company that I dreamed of working at 10 years ago. So this proves that opportunities happen when we have conversations. I wouldn't be married to my beautiful wife today unless I was going to say something really rude then, but I'm not going to do that. Unless I kind of strolled up to her at the bar and said, "Hello, darling, would you like to go out for a drink with me?" But that's that conversation. The reason we're married, the reason we have a child now is because 25 years ago we started a conversation. So please, please, please start as many conversations as you can, because they do become opportunities, and I like to call them sandboxes, but we'll be going into that a little bit later. So everybody, a little bit of crowd participation, because I like doing that. Everybody, let's go together. Ooh, sandbox. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Ooh, sandbox. Delicious. Yes, yes. Great. Right, stop around. Right. So, self-motivation. You'll notice this all the way through this talk. I'll try and motivate myself. And this brings me on to this idea of creative freedom. And this was like a random brain fart that I had while sleeping. I woke up, wrote it down on my bed next to me. And it was this whole idea of like, I think my role as an educator is to help creative people become self-reliant. I think when we become self-reliant, we do start to have that creative freedom, because we become independent of others rather than dependent on others. And we have to go through these stages of self-sabotage, all those limiting beliefs. Then we go into the self-alignment. Well, what do I want to become? And then the self-motivation. That's the most difficult part, because that's the things, that's the getting up, that's the action, that's the doing. But that is the way to self-reliance. So please, 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 always try and strive to become self-reliant, because when you have creative freedom, you can shit up. All right? Let's go. So, I did, for sake, James. Right, sorry, James. Right, breathe. I don't have time to breathe. Okay, the architect. I want to set the scene by telling you a story. Let's go into this whole MBJ journey, MBJ hotel journey. So, once upon a time, my wife and I wanted to develop our house, all right? Look at this lovely crowd. Isn't it lovely? We wanted to grow our family and needed to feng shui our space a little. This is my son, Rocco, made by James, made by Kate. That's good, isn't it? He hasn't got tattoos yet. He will do, probably, if he wants. I've got to stop getting distracted. The plan was very simple. We wanted to go up a bit, and we wanted to go out a bit. We got this lovely little bungalow in a little village in the middle of nowhere called Shedfield in the UK. But yeah, we were super excited to kind of extend our house. So we ended up doing the usual thing, asking friends, looking for an architect. And then we jumped on a call when we found the right one. This is still not Jessica Hish, by the way. Just remember that. They popped over to our house and we discussed our vision for it. We want our bedroom here. We want our kitchen here, yada, yada, yada. We paid a pretty chunky deposit for the work, and we were now in the process. But we were so excited. Like, it was a dream of ours. We'd wanted to develop the property for a long, long time. But, goes the way it goes. But after 10 days, we had heard nothing, like literally nothing, not even a whisper from the architect. So I played the big bad wolf, woohoo, and to see what their plan was with reference to timings. And they emailed me back and said, sorry, we have been very busy and have not aligned with the team just yet. We'll be back to you next week. They did not sound like that. This is just an email. Sad face. Boo! Yeah, you guys are great. This only happens at Canva. I love that. Right. So the following week, they did reach out with their plan of attack, but it did happen to be right at the end of the week. And this is what they said. You will hear from us in 6 to 8 weeks with some initial ideas. No! Sad face. Boo! Boo, architects! I hope there's no architects in here. For 6 weeks, I then heard nothing of any value. The odd check-in, some admin emails about tree protection, gas lines, electricity, and all that kind of jazz. I had paid thousands of dollars as a deposit. Well, me and my wife had. I should be honest about that. I had no real clue what they were working on. And by the time they showed up with their drawings for the next meeting, I was on the back foot looking for problems to find. And what I mean by this, by the time they got over, showed me their drawings there. We only had one door. We didn't have a back door. The kitchen was in the wrong place. Bedrooms were all scattered. There was only one ensuite. This all sounds very bougie, doesn't it? But they got quite a lot wrong. And as you can see by this graph, this is my increasing levels of anger towards my once loved architect. And this is something he emailed me after the meeting. The meeting did not, sorry, I've got to do the voice now. The meeting did not go as well as we had expected, James. No shit, Sherlock. Right. So the problem was they kept us out of the loop, and we had become monsters, absolute monsters. And that was the moment I realized I had become the nightmare client. Ooh. Soon after, we ended up parting ways. We ended our roller coaster love affair. I asked for my money back, and he went off, and I went fair play. So that's all right. But we never lose. We only learn. And I did grab a very valuable insight from that whole process. Once you've been a client, you'll never treat yours the same again. Now, I've got this little thing called nudge work. It's kind of homework for adults. But it'd be a really, really interesting process for you all. And don't put like $10, $50, $100 or whatever. Put some serious cashola behind a project or a process. Pay somebody some good money to do something for you and see how you feel during that process, because I guarantee it will help your business tenfold. Through this whole architect journey, it made me realize that there was a billion ways I could improve my own. And I'm not going to kind of talk to you about all of these because we're going to go into some of them in a bit, but this is kind of an overview of my whole process. So there's this kind of sandbox pre-transaction. We talked about that earlier. Then I go for this defining the fit, which is all about personal alignment. Am I right for them? Are they right for me? Then we go into these flexible expectations, which is all about like a one-on-one process, like should we be aligning calendars? How do they like to receive their the communications and all this kind of stuff. Then we go into the creative approval loop, which is basically like rounds of revisions, and then the handover cuddle, which we'll go into a little bit later, and then the aftercare, which is all about relationship maintenance, referrals, and staying top of mind. This whole process for me made me realize that I had to go from a me process into a we process. As a younger designer, I was very much driven by money and ego, which I see as the me process. And now, as a slightly fatter, bearded designer, don't have a kid. In fact, I was fat before I had a kid, to be fair, so it doesn't matter. But now I'm very much focused on wisdom and empathy. And now this isn't anything to do with like not having boundaries and not having rules, but I'm very much more collaborative now. No, don't have time for that. Right. The whole architect journey made me and my wife wanted to go for a little trip after this whole ordeal. So we packed our bags and headed to London for a little staycation. This is the first time this has actually made any sense. Remember, this is not my house. Right? Not every Briton lives in Downton. As everybody says that we all look like we live in Downton for some reason. Maybe it's a weird thing, I don't know. Maybe I just made that up, I don't know. But anyway, I'm going to tell you this story about the tree house, and it's about a little stay. So the whole process was me and my wife, it took us 8 years to have our son, Rocco. So we had to go through IVF and a lot of things. We had like miscarriages, ectopic pregnancies. So we ended up having to go to London quite a lot for some treatments and bits and pieces like that. So we'd always stay in this place called the Tree House. And a couple of years ago, we went there with Rocco very early on, and when we got there, we were greeted beautifully. Our bags were taken care of for us. They were taken to our room. And when we got to our room, there was this lovely little, as you can see it just in here, there was this lovely little Paddington Bear toy with this handwritten note, like welcoming us home, calling us by our name. This little teddy bear was for Rocco, and it made us feel amazing. Do you know what I mean? It made us feel so good, and it made us feel so good that we always go back there. Whenever we go to London, I mean, London's fairly big, but if we're going east, west, whatever it is, we always stay there and travel because we know the experience is so good. It makes us feel so welcome. This super duper experience is now something that I'm telling you. So I'm telling you 300 plus people, but I'm also telling 2-3 million people online. That is the power of good service and good experiences. And then this gave me an idea. I get to use this now. Ready? Ready, Pablo? Did you hear that? That was my idea. It's such a waste of money, that was. Right. What if I look after my clients like a boutique hotel looks after their guests? And this is when the MBJ mindset was born. And these are little illustrations of bits and pieces that I do. Surprise and delight, selling the sawdust. What do we else? We've got time exchange libraries. We've got Jess Hish down there. We've got the big bull. Yeah, it's a wonderful thing that's really allowed me to have these, or kind of craft these amazing client experiences and actually allow me to have a little bit more fun. So what I started to do as a whole kind of process is I got very addicted. I've got addictive personality. So basically what I did was I started writing notes, and I've got many, many notebooks of whenever I go and stay at a nice hotel or I go for a nice coffee somewhere, whenever I have a good experience or I observe something, I always write it down. I'm thinking, like, how can I add this into my own creative process? And the beautiful thing about all of these things is that they can be retrofit into any process. So anybody here can take the things that I'm going to tell you today and add them to your process. And it's amazing the power in doing just the smallest little detail. So here we got time exchange libraries. We got a little bit of surprise and delight. The chocolates on the pillow, notice that. Selling the sawdust, and the monster, which I call the keep and touch monster, which was my wife. So that's it. So today, because I've only got today, that was weird, wasn't it? I want to share 3 of them with you because I only have 13 minutes left, I see. Thank you, thumbs up. So we're going to talk about the ECOS impression, we're going to talk about surprise and delight, and we're going to talk about the handover cuddle. So first, the ECOS impression. This is a story from a Grecian experience, and as you can tell, I don't like to spend a lot of money on myself, but I do like to go away with my family, and when we go away, I do like to kind of go all-inclusive, because as you know, I'm bougie, all right? The reason I want to do that is because I want my wife to not have to cook or to clean or to do anything. I want Rocco to have a nice little place that he can kind of mess around, and I also want to go there and chill because I work hard. So we went to this beautiful place called the ECOS Resort. Anybody heard of the ECOS Resorts? No? Okay, great. You should check them out. They're very nice. It's more of a European thing, I suppose. But essentially what happened was we landed at the airport. We were greeted by this lovely man. He took us in his car, very clean. He then drove us to the front gates of the hotel. We were then welcomed by this wonderful lady. She sat us down. She had one of those nice little cold blankets, which everybody likes on holiday. She then gave us drinks. She then looked after all the payment details. She then took all of our bags to our room. She booked restaurants for us while we were there, so we didn't have to think about anything. And it was just unbelievably amazing. It was a fantastic first impression. And when we think about first impressions, there's actually something called, this is science. I might look stupid, but I just looked up on the internet. There's actually a thing called the halo effect. And the halo effect means that when someone has a positive first impression of you, they are more likely to assume that other qualities about you are also positive. So if you think about that in relation to first impressions, your first call, your onboarding experience, if you can make that as good as possible, they are naturally going to believe that everything else that follows that is also going to be of high quality. So always remember, those first impressions are so, so important. And this is actually something that my buddy Thad Cox. Hello, Thad. I know he's watching. I don't know if this is even being recorded. That might have been an absolute waste of time. Hello, Thad. You probably didn't hear that back in England. But he told me this kind of idea about 3 rights and 3 wrongs. And the reason I mentioned Thad is he's owned Michelin-star restaurants, and I'm big on hospitality thinking within the design industry. So I wanted to bring his expertise into my business. And this was something that he mentioned to me, this idea about 3 rights and 3 wrongs. If you get 3 things right during a process, people will always keep coming back. If you get 3 things wrong, they will never, ever return. So if we look at that in terms of clear, consistent communication, exceeding expectations, building relationships, if you get those things right, people will always come back and always keep referring you to their friends. If you get 3 things wrong, they'll never return. Poor communication, missed deadlines, lack of personalization. Like, if you are going to take anything from this stupid talk that I've put together, always remember the 3 rights and the 3 wrongs, because it will transform your business and make you level up, all right? Because inconsistency is the biggest threat to any business. What you do not want is your little star rating. I know we don't generally have star ratings, but I think we should. If you're looking a little bit like this, you're going to be in trouble. What you want is those consistent 4s, 5s all the time, and you have that by having a consistent process, a consistent systems that help it to become easy and repeatable, all right? So, how can we do that? I've already mentioned this a little bit. I've got to be quicker because I've only got 9 minutes. So, small personal touches at the beginning of the project, a seamless onboarding process, an energetic discovery call that sets the tone. Like I said, if we can get that first impression nailed, the rest of your process is going to be so much easier for you and your client, all right? So, number 2, poo-poo. Do we say that in the UK? Number 2s? Yeah? Yeah, poo-poo. Thank you. Thank you for nodding and saving me during that very awkward moment. Thank you. Surprise and delight. A thoughtful gesture could go a long way. So, remember how the treehouse made me feel when they left that beautiful little Paddington bear and that handwritten gift. Remember that, how that made me feel. It made me feel great. It made me feel loved. It made me feel welcome. So, quick question for you all. A little bit of entertainment for James. What does surprise and delight add to the process? Any guesses? Emotion? Yes, but no. It's a tough one, to be fair. Energy. It adds energy, because when we think of the project duration, all of us as designers and as clients, when we start a project, we start off super high and then we naturally go through this whole roller coaster. And what I see is these little dips as opportunities for surprise and delight. And the reason we want to bring the energy back up in the process is because it keeps our clients happy and it keeps them energized, and that energizes us, all right? So, this is a perfect time for surprise and delight. And when I think of surprise and delight, I think about it as creating unexpected moments that build deep client loyalty. It's not about grand gestures, but about small, thoughtful touches that make the clients feel extremely valued, all right? And my mummy always said to me, James Martin, whenever she was telling me off, or Martin, your ears are more important than your mouth. And this is incredibly valuable as a designer. And the way I like to use it is to kind of surprise or spring these gestures of surprise and delight onto my client. And this little picture here, you can see here is what I did is I had a wonderful client. I'm still working with them today. And what happened was on the call, they told me how much they like Lego. So when I went to Legoland with my son for his 2nd birthday at the beginning of this year, I bought them a piece of Lego. It cost me like 15 quid. And I sent it to them. And this, like I said, is a picture of them building it. And then they sent me a picture of it, which was fantastic. And as I said, I still work with this client today. And I can't tell you whether that little piece of Lego was the reason why we're still working, but it definitely did help. So that 15 quid plus a few quid to send it put me in a different realm as a designer. It kind of created this kind of collaboration, friendship, relationship thing, which is already paying me back. That's the best 20 quid plus postage I've ever spent, all right? So think about that in your process. Little bit of surprise and delight for you, little cheeky chappies and ladies. I've got a bucket load of fonts. I've got a bucket load of other fonts. I've got, 13 plus my MBJ collection in there. Plus, I've also got a PDF explaining how I sandbox and start these conversations. And MBJ Sandbox is essentially a free conversation that helps you build trust and nurture relationships with potential clients with no sales or money involved. Because that's something that that's something that I realized was that most of the time when designers are speaking to clients, there's always money involved. So they're on the back foot. We're on the back foot. So what I started to do many moons ago was to build conversations and just continuously spark conversations with my clients. I call them sandboxes, and it gets me more work than anything. It might not happen overnight, but it will definitely happen. Like I said, the reason I got that job at Lincoln Design Co. is because I started a conversation 10 years ago. We got to be a little bit patient, all right? So the final thing, with 4 minutes and 30 seconds to go, is the handover cuddle, all right? And this is how you go from technician to trusted partner. So this actually was an idea that was catalyzed from a sandbox with my friend Jamie Kagan after I'd done some work with them. Or work with him, sorry, on his business. Sommet El Neige. He's a fantastic skier. That was French for any of you uncultured people. So on the call, sorry, he said something that made me a little angry with myself. He said, "I did not realize, James, how much we would need to do and spend after the identity was built." And this made me feel shit. It made me realize that I hadn't set my client and my friend up for success after the project had finished. And this is the reason why the handover cuddle was invented. And essentially what the handover cuddle is just before I send over my final files to my client, once we're all wrapped up with the creative and all of those bits and pieces, I then put together it's almost like a 3-month brand plan where I essentially this is what you should expect to do over the next 3 months to roll this new identity out across your business when it comes to messaging, website, and all the other marketing collateral, all that kind of stuff. And I send that to them as a gift. But what I also do is I also potentially push that as a, what do you call it? A retainer model. So I'll put it together and say, look, I would love to help you with this. If not, have it, use it. You know what to do now. If you want to do it with somebody else, that's absolutely not a problem. Another gift from me to my client. But if they do want to come with me, it's already lined out. I've already been very proactive with letting them know what they're going to need to do over the next 3 months. And the clients love it. And I say I probably get a 50% return rate on retainers with that. So handover cuddles, cool hats, handover cuddles, all right? Remember that. So this is a very important stat. It was the internet gave me it, so I'm not too sure whether it's true, but I think it is. The probability of selling to an existing customer is 60 to 70%. The probability of selling to a new customer is only 5 to 20%. This is why it's so important to look after your people, because you're going to get more work. It's much easier to keep a client than it is to find a new one, all right? So this whole journey from transactional to relational has changed my business for the better. All this gumph on the internet telling you that clients are shit, clients are wankers, just take them for all their money, they don't know what they're doing. I would urge you to not listen to it. Design your own way, figure it out your own way. But obviously, being collaborative has never ever done me any harm personally. And this is a quote I kind of want to leave you with, which I think is an absolute banger. You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. All right? This has been the MBJ Hotel. I have been made by James, or James Martin, and in a world that's becoming less human, it will be your humanness that makes you irreplaceable. All right? Go f*** it up. All right? Thank you.